What? Hey, man, you a whole bitch. Catch a nigga lagging with that Glock and shoot the whole world. Yo, hey, I made my flow switch.
What it is, YouTube? It's your boy Tokyo here. Today we are back at it again with another reaction. Today's reaction, we got 20 people whose death changed the world. I've had this in my watch list for I think 2 weeks now. Probably 2-3 weeks now. It's by Watch Mojo, so you already know it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. If you guys want to check out the original links, going to be in the description down below. But yeah, it's about to be a little switch up that we about to do for real. Okay? And also, the title just seemed pretty much interesting. And also, I got a little update. I do have a Warzone video in the process right now. It's being edited right now, so it might take a few days because that bitch is like an hour something minutes long. So it's gonna be a minute till that shit's completely done. So y'all stay tuned for that. But anyways, probably like around when that shit is probably being uploaded, I'm gonna be making more videos along the way, so that way I can keep up with the flowing, so I don't have to get held back on shit. So I might just be editing that every now and then type shit. So it's not gonna be a full, you feel me, full like editing type shit. So it might be like a few weeks till that shit gets fully edited and dropped. But anyways, guys, y'all stay tuned for that. We about to go ahead and get into this shit, and hope y'all enjoy. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at individuals who each changed the course of history by meeting an untimely demise.
When the world sleeps,
There might be someone I might know. I don't know. Oh shit! I just realized. Hold up. I don't know why I always keep on doing that shit. I keep forgetting to fucking take out the fucking audio back into my headphones.
The Archduke has inadvertently made himself a target for assassination.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at individuals who each changed the course of history by meeting an untimely demise.
when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. It's one thing to just fall from power. It's another to get gunned down in a basement with your entire family. The
Well,
brutal
damn,
execution
what
of Tsar
the
Nicholas
fuck?
II didn't just mark the end of the Romanovs. It symbolized the death rattle of Imperial Russia and the birth scream of the Soviet Union.
Russia died, and that moment when he was killed, Russia died too.
Nicholas had bungled Russia through famine, war, and revolution. His death was a warning to monarchists and moderates alike. The old world wasn't just gone, it was dead and buried.
Once the family was in, the basement room was sealed, and Yakov Yurovsky, their chief executioner, informed them they would be executed. Nicholas could only respond with one word. Что?
Had Nicholas lived, some historians believe Russia might have transitioned into a constitutional monarchy. Instead, his death was a seismic shift in global power. It set the stage for a century of totalitarian rule and Cold War paranoia. Pope Gregory XI. Gregory XI.
Didn't the Cold War end up happening anyways? Man, that's fucking crazy, bro. So was he like the stop of it? Because he died like, what is it? Did he say what did it say he died like 1890 some shit? I don't know. 1919. He died in 1919. So that's, and the Cold War started what, 1960 around that time.
His death didn't just end a papacy,
80s. No,
it
1980s,
broke the
that was
Catholic
Cold
Church
War.
in half. After years of comfortable exile in Avignon, Gregory moved the papal court back to Rome.
However, when he did finally return, he found the city of Rome.
So I'm not surprised again, but so if the other dude wouldn't have died, the Cold War wouldn't have happened, right? I just had to think about that shit.
To be wholly in trouble, with great turbulence and civil unrest.
He hoped to restore order, but died before his dream could come to fruition. The Romans demanded an Italian pope. After they got one, French cardinals then elected their own. A council at Pisa elected a third. Thus began the Western Schism, multiple courts, and one decades-long holy mess.
This unusual arrangement lasted 5 more years, until the Council of Constance in 1417.
Had Gregory lived or stayed in Avignon, this split might never have happened. Instead, his death broke the illusion of unity and set the stage for the Reformation. Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks died of cervical cancer in 1951, buried in an unmarked grave. But part of her never stopped living.
She went to Johns Hopkins for treatment because it was the only place anywhere near her that treated Black patients.
Without her knowledge...
Oh, that's fucked up. Wait, but like, that's nothing you can really do for her. Like, the only thing you can really do is like just use her message and like just change the world with that for her. That's all you gotta do. I don't know, but let's see how it goes, because I'm getting into it. They said cancer. It's like there's no workaround of that shit. It's like that's it.
For consent, doctors took samples of her tumor. They discovered that her cells could survive indefinitely in the lab. Named HeLa, they became the first immortal human cell line.
In response to all of his colleagues asking for them, George Guy sent them to anyone who wanted to use them for research.
Her death quietly fueled medical breakthroughs for decades. Polio vaccines, gene mapping, cancer drugs, IVF, even COVID research. No one ever told her family. Her story, once brought to light, forced medicine to reckon with its history of taking without asking.
This information was out there for so many years, and the family was not even aware of Henrietta's, that they had taken cells from Henrietta Lacks, and these cells have been used all over the world.
It exposed decades of consent violations, racial exploitation, and profit at the expense of the powerless. Attila the Hun. You have to be...
So they was taking her cells without asking the family. So she already passed. And like, I guess they stored her somewhere because nobody knew where her fucking grave was at. Yo, that shit is fucking wild. So they was storing her somewhere and taking her cells, DNA or whatever, and just using that shit for modern medicine. Because their cells was, bro, that's fucking wild. What the fuck? Yo, that shit is fucking crazy, dog. And nobody knew about this shit for however long this shit was going on. Nobody said anything, so they just did that shit in secret. I hope they sued the shit out this motherfuckers, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Shit, I'm getting something. I ain't gonna lie.
Be one nasty dude to earn the nickname the Scourge of God. Attila wasn't just nasty. He was the nightmare of empires.
You pray to your pantheon of gods as Attila and his barbarian army approaches your city gates. There will be no escape.
For a while, it looked like he might do what no one else had. Bring down the Western Roman Empire. But then he died suddenly on his wedding night, reportedly from a nosebleed.
He simply got a nosebleed and was too drunk to wake up.
No blaze of glory, just a twist of fate. Without Attila, the Hunnic Empire fractured almost immediately. Germanic tribes once bound by fear turned on each other, and the region's power balance collapsed. Some historians believe that had he lived, Rome might have fallen sooner or differently. Instead, his death delayed one collapse and set the stage for centuries of chaos. Louis XVI. Louis XVI lost his crown. Bro. Immediately thereafter, he lost his head. With the fall of the guillotine's blade, the old world order was shattered. His royal execution marked the point of no return for the French Revolution.
The execution of King Louis XVI was a pivotal moment in the history of France. It symbolised the end of the corrupt monarch that had been bleeding the country dry in the subsequent decades before, and the beginning of the revolution that led to democracy.
Kings had been overthrown before, but rarely like this. Tried, convicted, and massacred by his own people. His death sent shockwaves throughout Europe. Monarchs panicked, revolutionaries cheered, and war erupted across the continent. The message was clear. The divine right of kings was dead.
Some leaders, not content with just changing the government, sought to completely transform French society. Its religion, its street names, even its calendar.
Had Louis escaped or been spared, the revolution might have cooled or crumbled. Instead, the blade came down, and history lurched into a new blood-soaked era.
While the number of official executions was close to 17,000, that doesn't count how many people were just killed in the street by the authorities or by mobs. Then, there were those who perished in the prisons where food was scarce and disease was rife.
France would see the birth of republics, reigns of terror, and eventually an emperor named Napoleon. Ogedei Khan. Genghis Khan built the Great Mongol War Machine. His son Ogedei steered it straight into the heart of the known world.
The empire was too large for him to manage on his own anymore, so he divided the Mongol Empire into 3 regions.
Under his rule, the Mongols arguably became the first true global superpower. They conquered vast stretches of China, steamrolled through Russia, and marched into Central Europe. Then, just as their armies reached the gates of Vienna, Ogedei died.
Ogedei, having laid the foundations for a governable empire that stretched throughout Asia,
died
on 11 December 1241 at age 56.
Per Mongol law, the generals withdrew to attend the election of a new Great Khan. Europe was spared, quite possibly by a night of partying to death. Had Ogedei lived a few more years, historians believe the continent could have fallen. His death didn't end the Mongol onslaught, but it slammed the brakes on one of history's most unstoppable invasions.
Even though the empire lasted only a short while, the Mongols left a legacy of world domination that remains unmatched today.
John F. Kennedy. When JFK was shot in Dallas, his death didn't just end a presidency, it shattered America's sense of innocence.
These scenes are at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, where President John Kennedy died.
He was young, charismatic, and seen as a symbol of hope and a bright future. His death and its coverage on television stunned the world and sent the U.S. careening into a decade of upheaval.
Today, in this moment of new resolve, I would say to all my fellow Americans, let us continue.
There's a big conspiracy on John F. Kennedy's death.
The Vietnam War escalated under his successor. Civil rights progress met harsher resistance. Public trust in government began to rot. Some historians argue that had Kennedy lived, he may have pulled out of Vietnam or pushed harder for civil rights.
Today we are committed to a worldwide struggle to promote and protect the rights of all who wish to be free.
Instead, his assassination froze him in myth and changed the trajectory of American politics for.
Bro, there's so much shit, theories and shit about John F. Kennedy's death and shit, bro. And there's so much shit that she's like, if he was to live, bro, so much shit would have stopped so much sooner, bro. On some real shit, racism would have stopped. That whole Vietnam shit would have stopped. A whole lot of shit would have stopped, probably by the 70s, bro, on some real shit.
Forever. Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin was a warrior who chose peace. He paid for it with his life.
Enough of blood and tears. Enough!
As Prime Minister of Israel, he signed the Oslo Peace Accords. He made history, shaking hands with his lifelong enemy Yasser Arafat. Together, they set a fragile path toward a two-state solution. But in 1995, a Jewish extremist assassinated him at a peace rally.
At 2 o'clock this afternoon, the city of Jerusalem ground to a halt.
The bullet didn't just kill a man. It quite possibly ended all hope of a peaceful resolution to decades of conflict. Rabin's death unraveled momentum for peace, deepened.
That shit I never fucking understood. The same with Kennedy's death, niggas want peace, but niggas also don't want peace. That shit I never understood. It's niggas that's going around literally just asking for peace and doing nothing but just giving out peace, saying peaceful shit, giving out whatever the fuck to help people, doing shit to help people. You feel me? Doing all this other shit to give their country a better you feel me, a better chance of life and shit, you feel me? And just for some shit like this to happen, niggas just run up on niggas and then just kill them, bro. That shit I never understood. I don't get it. I don't know. Do they like war? Do they like that shit? I don't know, man. That shit is just weird, bro. To me, at least.
Mistrust and hardened divisions that still define the region. Many believe he was the only leader with the credibility or the backbone to make real progress. His assassination closed a door that's never reopened.
But when this war someday ends, perhaps a new generation of leaders will look back at this moment, recognize how close peace felt, and be inspired by some of Rabin's last words. In every central square of every city, scream out and cheer, only for peace.
Ngo Dinh Diem. Ngo Dinh Diem was the face of South Vietnam until the U.S. decided he was a problem in need of a permanent solution. His rule was brutal and paranoid, but for a time, his iron-fisted rule kept a lid on chaos. That all ended in 1963, when a U.S.-approved coup left him dead in the back of an armored car. His death cracked the regime wide open.
To kill or to subdue is easy. But what will happen afterwards?
What followed was a carousel of weak leaders and an ever-increasing number of American boots on the ground. Some historians argue that Diem, however flawed, was the last shot at stability. Instead, his fall helped turn a simmering conflict into a full-blown war.
Today, for good or ill, new men will write the history of South Vietnam.
Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached nonviolence in a world hell-bent on delivering the opposite.
This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty of thee I sing.
When he was assassinated in Memphis, the shock ripped through America like a lightning bolt. Cities burned, grief turned to rage, and any illusion of racial harmony collapsed overnight.
The city was a mess. It was a mess for those, 5 to 8 days.
King had been a steadying force in the civil rights movement, its moral compass. Without him, the movement splintered, and more radical voices took the lead. Some argue that if he had lived, the push for economic justice and multiracial solidarity might have gained real ground. Instead, his death left a void still felt today. Decades later, many Americans still desperately crave a moral vision of a peaceful and prosperous future.
Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty, we are free at last!
The Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. It's not entirely accurate to label the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand as the only catalyst for World War I.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Today, he will be assassinated. This is the spark which will ignite the First World War.
That said, it is perhaps satisfactory to describe it as...
I did hear about this shit. Also, like, it's because of, this shit literally just reminded me of, I should react to, Matthew Santoro. Because that's where I heard this shit from. Like, that shit is crazy. Like, that was like a big-ass coincidence that just happened for
the proverbial tinder and flint which helped light the fire, tipping political tensions over the edge. The Archduke of Austria and his wife were shot in Sarajevo by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb student. The assassination followed a failed bombing attempt on Ferdinand's motorcade.
At the last moment, the Archduke sees the bomb coming and raises his arm to protect his beloved wife. The driver accelerates, and the grenade bounces off the back of the car.
Princip didn't act alone. He was part of the separatist group Young Bosnia, which received support in their actions from the Serbian secret organization Black Hand. World War I certainly loomed large at the time of Ferdinand's death, but this event effectively codified its inevitability.
Just 6 weeks after a man was killed by a single bullet, the alliances were triggered. Germany invaded France, and the First World War had begun.
Abraham Lincoln. We're all taught in school about how actor John Wilkes Booth assassinated President Abraham Lincoln during a play at Ford's Theater.
For Lincoln, finally, this punishing war has come to an end. And he's able to feel a sense of the country is going to go forward. I've done my part as a leader. And he only has 5 days to appreciate that before he's killed.
What's also interesting are the consequences that followed, specifically during the subsequent presidency of Andrew Johnson. The former vice president failed to deliver upon Lincoln's plans for a post-war reconstruction of the South due to his desire to assist wealthy white Southern conservatives.
Johnson implements a plan of reconstruction which puts control of the Southern states back into the hands of the white population.
Johnson's undeniable racism ultimately led to a Reconstruction era that was plagued by carpetbagging Northern opportunists and an overarching sense of failure. His relentless conflict with Congress led to him becoming the first American president to be impeached and paved the way for increased congressional influence in American politics.
Finally, the bad blood spilled over. The president was impeached and escaped removal from office by just 1 vote.
Julius Caesar. The
That's
history
crazy.
of Rome dates back to antiquity, with the establishment of the Roman kingdom circa 753 BC.
The most powerful man Rome has ever seen. It's time to make it official.
Long-serving senators might not take well to it. Even Sulla was careful with them, not to make them feel disrespected.
I'll do nothing. They owe me their lives.
The death of Julius Caesar, meanwhile, would signify the onset of a chaotic civil war, the demise of Rome's republic, and the rise of an empire. March 15th, a date popularly known as the Ides of March, memorializes Caesar's assassination by Roman senators.
Once the deed was done,
The conspirators turned out to have no forward plan. What they got was civil war, which ended up producing one-man rule, emperors.
It was the culmination of a grand and infamous conspiracy involving over 50 of Rome's public servants, including Caesar's close compatriot Marcus Junius Brutus. Brutus's reputation is now divisive. While some vilify him as one of history's greatest traitors, others regard his actions as heroic and a courageous stand against Caesar's lack of political accountability.
So Caesar's assassination only served to strengthen the very thing it meant to destroy.
Saddam Hussein. The Iran-Iraq War was fought in part to prevent Iran's post-revolution influence from seeping into Iraqi President Saddam Hussein's Ba'athist Sunni government.
Along with the United States, much of the Arab world sided with Iraq in a war that had no winner.
Throughout this bloody conflict, Saddam remained in power, with his war efforts being silently backed by the United States. However, his invasion of Kuwait in 1990 led to a direct confrontation with the American military during the Gulf War. Following 9/11, American pressure on Saddam increased, leading to the invasion of Iraq and the downfall of his regime. He was later convicted of crimes against humanity and executed in 2006.
The verdict was predictable. Saddam was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging.
This event ultimately opened the doors for the aforementioned Iranian influence and theocratic philosophies to permeate not only Iraq, but all.
I didn't even know that you could take out like leaders like that, like you know, I didn't know that you could do that shit. That shit is fucking wild. Fuck. And public execution at that, you getting publicly executed by the people that you was supposed to lead, and they said, "Fuck you, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna kill you." That's fucking wild.
Also, large sections of the Middle East. Mahatma Gandhi. The aftermath of Mahatma Gandhi's assassination was one of grim irony, sharply contrasting with his message of non-violence. On January 30th, 1948, Gandhi was assassinated by one Nathuram Godse while on his way to a prayer meeting.
He took 3 steps, bowed before Mahatma Gandhi, and he shot him point blank, 3 bullets.
Godse was a Hindu nationalist who objected to Gandhi's compassionate stance towards displaced Muslim nationalists in the aftermath of British colonialism in India. After Gandhi's death, public displays of mourning unfolded, which were juxtaposed against violent riots in areas such as Mumbai.
Despite his efforts, violence between Hindus and Muslims continued, and despite his efforts, India was fractured in two.
Gandhi's demise would forever raise questions as to what routes modern-day Pakistan would have taken had his peaceful ethos been allowed to continue, as India navigated the political landscape post-British Raj. Alexander the Great. It's difficult to know exactly how vast Alexander the Great's empire would have become if he hadn't succumbed to fever and disease at only 32 years of age.
He contracted a fever, possibly malaria, and on the 10th of June, 323 BC, after a night of heavy drinking, Alexander died. He was a month short of his 33rd birthday.
What is known, however, is that Alexander's lack of foresight with regards to his line of succession resulted in chaos, civil war, and turmoil. Today, our geographical concept of East versus West is largely attributed to the fracturing of Alexander's empire, which stretched to roughly 2 million square miles.
His conquests had opened the East to a flood of Western and Greek influence, and the contact between cultures was to have a lasting effect on European and Asian civilization.
Nonetheless, Alexander's demise ultimately proved that his control over this empire was tenuous at best. It didn't take long for rebellions to break out over the command of this collapsing house of cards.
After his death, that legend became an inspiration to many who dreamed, but ultimately failed to follow where he had led.
Moctezuma II. The days of the Aztec Empire were effectively numbered after the death of Moctezuma II on June 30th, 1520.
Over the course of 2 years, a single ruthless man was able to forge an alliance which destroyed the gorgeous city, rooted out its ancient religion, and created a new realm for his king.
The manner of the Aztec emperor's death has been disputed, with most agreeing that he was stoned to death by his own people following a failed negotiation with the invading Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés.
Perhaps even before Moctezuma was able to get a word out, Stones, arrows, and darts began to fly at him.
Still, others believe that it was Cortés himself who did the job. While that remains up in the air, what is certain is that the conquistadors narrowly escaped Aztec land with their lives, and then came back for vengeance. Cortés's war of attrition decimated the city of Tenochtitlan, setting the stage for further European colonial efforts in the New World.
The situation that existed in the final siege of Tenochtitlan was very different. And surely that the Aztecs who were fighting must have realized that. They must have seen that it signaled the end of their empire.
Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. It's entirely possible that the cultural landscape of modern-day Iran might look drastically different had the Iranian Revolution not taken place back in 1979.
Daily, it has become more difficult to look at the scope of opposition to the Shah of Iran and still see his monarchy surviving. The Ayatollahs are committed to the ouster of the Shah and nothing less than that.
The Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, espoused a political ideology known as the Great Civilization, where Iran would emerge as a global superpower with idealized socio-economic conditions for its people.
I think that our country in the next 10 years will be what you are today. In the next 25 years, according to other people, I'm not saying that, will be among the 5 most prosperous countries of the world.
His reign was also notable for how Iranian culture largely echoed Western fashion and music trends, rather than enforced Islamic fundamentalism. Following the revolution, Pahlavi was forced into exile, and Iran's cultural trajectory shifted towards a clerical theocracy under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini.
During his 10-year reign, he implemented his ideas of an Islamic revolution with uncompromising vigor, and turned Iran into a theocracy.
The Shah, meanwhile, died in exile on July 27, 1980. Vladimir Lenin. Few figures from the former...
I ain't gonna lie, half these motherfuckers I don't really fucking know, bro. But that's kind of crazy. I'm actually learning a little bit of this shit, but this beat that they playing in the background kind of a little fire. I am listening, but this beat fire as fuck.
Soviet Union's socio-political sphere are as polarizing and controversial as Vladimir Lenin. The life of this former Soviet head of state saw his administration rise to power via the October Revolution of 1917, deposing Russian Tsar Nicholas II. This armed coup allowed for Leninist communist politics to shape the Soviet Union's political course for decades. Yet it was Lenin's death in 1924 that created an opportunity for change, a vacuum that would allow the dictatorship of Joseph Stalin to emerge. Some historians argue that both Lenin and Stalin were dictators, albeit in different ways. Regardless, Russia's legacy of political turbulence was further inflamed after Lenin's death. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Jesus Christ. Christianity is the world's largest religion, with around a third of the global population adhering to its basic tenets. The figure of Jesus Christ sits at the center of these tenets, a singular figure whose life, death, and prophesied resurrection serve as the foundation of the faith.
The most famous death in history is the death of Jesus of Nazareth. 2,000 years ago, in 1st century Jerusalem, he was crucified by the Romans.
The Christian Bible describes the life of Jesus for believers, while historical and archaeological evidence paints contextual pictures for those outside of its religious sphere of influence.
The crucifixion of Jesus came to have an immense political significance on a much grander scale, in that his followers founded a new religion.
It is fair to point out that religious cultures all over the world possess their own important mythologies. However, the sheer vastness of Jesus Christ's impact over the world continues to be felt long after the biblical accounts of his death.
What does this mean? That the one that we had all of these expectations about has been crucified. How do we deal with this? Not merely the end of this life, but the shameful end of this life.
Do you know of any deaths that were crucial pivot points in human history?
That's actually interesting video for I ain't gonna cap. My camera was kind of fucking up the entire time. Not the entire time, but towards the end. As you can kind of see now. But yeah, I was kind of fucking with it a little bit so it can... There we go. Fucking finally. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you guys did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new. This is actually very interesting. I kind of like these type of videos where like I'll be learning shit. See, you feel me? So if you guys like these type of videos that y'all be learning shit, leave a like. I might do more of these for real. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah. Again, it's gonna be like a good little couple weeks until the Warzone video comes out. Cause like I said, that shit is like damn near, like not even damn near. That shit is an hour long. So there's like a lot of editing I gotta do, and I also want to like put like some other shit in it. So yeah, it's gonna be a minute. So if y'all like this video, like I said for the third time, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and make sure you check out Watch Mojo. The link gonna be in the description down below. And with that being said, I'm up out of here. Peace.